all systems go. Clear for liftoff.
What's up, everybody? Man, am I glad to be back here talking some baseball with my man BJ. Man, I had a rough week last week. Those that missed, I was not available last week. I had a little couple days with the hospital over there at not too far down, BJ. Like I was telling you pre-show, man, I had this fucking thing grow. It was like an abscess grew on the bottom of my rear end. Didn't know what it was. Thought I was having like a hernia. I had no clue. Ended up growing like the size of a damn tennis ball. They had to cut that damn thing out. I ended up getting sepsis. If you guys know what that is, I was pretty damn sick. Had to pump me with antibiotics for a few days. And you know what, BJ? I got to say, having a safety meeting is kind of what helped me out because, you know, I was not feeling all that good. Having a safety meeting, bullshitting with a couple, you know, with my wife and another friend, and I was telling them what the hell. I was feeling like shit. And it just got me thinking, like, man, maybe I'm sick. I'm not feeling good because, man, I wasn't into that Michigan and Texas game when they got their ass kicked. That's when I was really sick that day. But, BJ, man, I'll tell you, that shit was rough. Now it's just rough. I can hardly sit, so I'm going to do my best to get through this thing. Been struggling to get back to work, just trying to get back in. When you don't have the things you love to do, BJ, and you're just sitting around, it just fucking sucks, man. So trust me, I'm glad to be diving into some DFS streets. We had football. I missed the first week of football. I was fucking having surgery. I didn't even get to see none of it. So that sucked. But BJ, I can go on and on. They got me on some good painkillers, so I'm feeling pretty good. But yeah, glad to be back, BJ. How was your week? Hopefully it was way better than mine, buddy.
Yeah, no, it was. I'm sorry to hear all that stuff, but happy that you're back and we're talking some baseball. You know, hey, maybe it was a good thing you missed the first week of football, but we're back. Hey, like we talked about, we missed you last week, but Tyler and I were talking about how, hey, all that football money's coming straight to the baseball streets here for the next couple of days.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So no, I'm happy that you're back. Sorry that you went through that, but no better day to come here, talk some ball, and build some winners.
Yeah, I hear it. Hey, I just like to be open there, but I never heard such a fucking thing. Like, I was like, what the hell are they talking about? When I went into the emergency room that night and the nurse, she looked right at me and goes, get this dude some morphine. He's about to have a chunk taken out his ass. I turned my head real fast, said, what did you say? And she said, you're about to have a chunk taken out your ass. I was like, how many timeouts I get in a day? Can I use one? Like, we're calling timeout. Like, what? And she was right, man. She was freaking right. But, man, when they figured out I had sepsis and I was, like, really sick from that, they panicked, man. They were pumping me with antibiotics like no tomorrow. But, hey, all those people were great. I had a good time with them. I was joking with them, having fun, all that good stuff. But, yeah, I'll tell you, man, football's back. It's a lot of fun. You know what, BJ? Nothing going to hold me down neither. I'm actually going to Arizona this weekend. 2 holes in my ass or not. And I'm going to that Lions and Arizona game in Arizona. So I'm going to go hang out with some family out there, lay around, go to some football. But, man, I'm going to build up my account all this week with all these donkeys coming over from football thinking they can take and play our sport. So, but we got a good 10-gamer here we can talk about today. And I'll tell you what, man. Kind of reminds me literally yesterday. I mean, we got Arizona up at top. Everybody's going to want to play some Arizona, obviously in Colorado. Didn't even work out all that great. But, man, everybody in Michigan and Detroit is really paying attention to some baseball. It's the first time our team has played some meaningful games in, since 2016. Man, it's been a minute. But, yeah, so we're kind of looking forward to it. We got the Tigers and the Royals today. It looks like everybody's going to be on some Cole Reagans, just kind of looking around. But, man, there's some pretty good pitching at the top of the slate. I mean, you got guys like Wheeler has been consistent as hell. You got Reagans with his 30% strikeout rate against the Tigers, who generally struggle against lefties. You got King against the Astros with his 28%. You got Gil against the Mariners, who we like to attack. You got Brown and the Padres, Evaldi, if you want to go there against the Jays, Bassett, Wu. I think even McGill, he's got a pitch count. I mean, there's all kinds of options, I think, here today, BJ. But, I mean, for me, Wheeler stands out. I mean, you're obviously going to have to pay. He's the best pitcher. Just obviously on FanDuel, that dude's a quality start machine. He's going to get you 6 to 9 Ks every time. I mean, I think it's about an even matchup. I mean, it's not great. It's not terrible with the Brewers. Reagan's, I think, stands out as far as I think everybody's going to look at. I think he's probably going to be chalkier, especially, getting a little bit of discount off Wheeler. I think those two stand at the top. I'm going to call the rest of the guys more so pivots. But what do you think of those two up at the top? I think those two are going to be pretty popular, Wheeler and Reagan's. But, man, I don't know. I think the pitching is going to be pretty spread out. I think it's a good day for pitching today. I think even Evaldi's in play, but it's just don't have a good matchup. But what do you think of them top tier there?
Yeah, no, I think you're right on. I think it's Wheeler and Reagan's, and then everybody's going to make decisions after that, which I like. I mean, with so many options, like you said, we have a chalky core game we'll get to in a little bit with the wind blowing out, and we have a nice array of options here. I agree with what you said. I think Reagan's will be chalky. He'll be one for me, just because you get strikeout rate. I know it's a big time game for you guys, but I mean, Reagan's has been great all season, almost a 30% strikeout rate. Wheeler, I think his price tag's a little bit too expensive for me to really get to. I understand he's been consistent. His last 9 starts have all been 6 innings, at least 6 strikeouts. And then a couple interesting question marks that we have to talk about. Like you said, we have Michael King and Hunter Brown together at Petco. Both, nice chunky price tags against, in a good part, but against teams that don't really strike out that much. So that would be a decision that I think will be really, really low owned just because of price, along with the 2 studs and Coors Field. I'll tell you right, 2 guys I don't mind. They're a little bit cheaper than both of those guys is Evaldi and the Bassett Hound. I think at 8,100 and 9,200, Bassett's going to round out, higher than Evaldi for me. But I don't mind either one of the 2 options staying above that 8K number. That's where I'm going to try and get to. Kind of mix in some Reagans, maybe in multiple teams. I might mix in each side of that game at Petco. But the guy that I did skip, Luis Hill, it's a little questionable for me. His price tag at 88 and the matchup is something we want to target. But, he's been wild. I believe his strikeout rate here, I have it here, 14% walk rate since the start of the All-Star break, and it's just a scary spot for me because I know people flock there with the matchup and the park and the price tag being below 9K. But does that matchup, not the matchup, but does his current, kind of form scare you at all there for Luis Hill?
It does, especially on FanDuel. I mean, he's had 1 quality start in his last 7. I mean, that kind of is definitely, I mean, you need the quality start on FanDuel. On DK, maybe you can get away with it a little bit more. He does have the upside. I mean, I think the strikeout upside is there. But as you mentioned, his control issues are just bad. He gives up a walk or 2, and gives up a bomb. I mean, that could be that's a significant hit to his point total. I like the strikeouts there, but, just because he's just been struggling, as you mentioned, with the control, I actually think I like Evaldi and Bassett probably a little bit more than I would like Hill, even though, you guys know I love picking on some Mariners. It's a strikeout team that we've been going after all season, but yeah, I'm a little intimidated by Hill, which actually makes him a good GPP play. I think the upside is there. It's not somebody I'm going to play in 1 to 3 lineups, probably, especially on FanDuel, the 1 pitcher site. But if you got a few teams out there you're running out there, I don't mind them at all. I think this is the kind of slate that there are several guys that could have decent games. I don't see the huge ceiling, like I always used to say, DeGrom, Strider, big, huge, holy shit games. I don't see any of those really on the board today, but I do see, quite a few opportunities that there's going to be some decent scores put up at pitching. So, and I think it's a pretty broad, it's, pretty wide. I think there's 7, 8, 10 guys that you could legitimately play today. So that's what I think makes the slate pretty interesting. I think you got a couple guys that are going to see some ownership, and I think you're going to see some that are mixed up. But I think you're spot on with Heel there. I think that was a good analysis there, that he's been struggling. Definitely. We like the Mariners. It looks good. But I think once you peel back a layer or two, that onion, BJ, it's kind of scary. I agree with you.
Yeah, especially as, we kind of see, I believe he's going to be somewhere between on the low end 10%. And I think depending on the contest, he could get as high as 20, just because you kind of mix in, people are just so used to clicking that, especially, at the Mariners in Seattle. I just think they're used to clicking that button, and to go back to, Michael Peterson's in here. We saw him in the chat earlier. That's what he was saying. He says, do we load up the chalk or do we go with Reagan's and Heel? And I think that's a pretty fair analysis. Like you said, once you kind of dive deeper into that, it doesn't look so pretty.
Yeah, it doesn't look so pretty. Hey, let's give everybody a quick little shout out there listening. We got 72 listening. Hit that like button for me. I'm sitting here with a big ass lump out my ass. Can't even sit here talking all baseball with y'all. But you know what? I wouldn't want to do anything else. We got Pojen Stoner in here. What he says. Indica or sativa slate today. I'll go with a little bit more of a hybrid. I think it's kind of balanced on both sides. So we'll kind of go with that. We got our boy Parabay in the house. Taco Todd. Appreciate you saying glad you are okay. Parabay with the Modelos. Yep. Get that alcohol flowing. Get everything going. But they literally gave me Oxycontins. They told me no on the drinking. So I was like, all right, I can keep that under control. But man, I'm out of those Oxycontins now. But I'd have to
on those, you don't just slip in one or two. That's a different kind right there. In the past, I was like, one beer won't hurt. But then you wake up 12 hours later and, it's the next day and you're like, wait, what happened?
I was doing safety meetings with them, but I'd have to take one. And like an hour and a half later, I'd change all my gauze and my bandaging. So like taking that out hurts like a MFer. So, so I would try to be juiced up when I was doing that. But, hey, I'm going to get through it all. It's all right. Devin Davis said, I knew he was screwed when the doctor put his 2 hands on his shoulder. No, I knew I was screwed when I went in there and that lady said they were going to take a chunk out my ass. My head turned so fast. I was like, what'd you say? Like, what? But either way, Gangrene, glad to have you. Marquee Music Group in the house. Peterson, Jake Swall's giving me some shit for his Buccaneers beating my Lions. Hey, that's all right. That's football. Anybody, they're going to give the Lions their best shot, but I got to say, if you'd have told me that, what did Baker have? 12, 15 receptions or completions. He was the leading rusher with 34 yards or something. You'd have told me that. I'd have bet you all kinds of money we'd have whipped your ass. Lions played greedy. They need to work out that offense a little bit. I don't know what they're doing.
I know this is a football show. I want to talk about that game because I thought about you. That was, last week I snagged the ticket into the 555 Millie Maker. So that was my game stack there. And man, it was real questionable for me, some of those play calls near the end of the game for the Lions. I think they tried to work in Gibbs way too much. It's all that short stuff. I mean, they have 2 talented receivers and a really talented tight end. That's me, talking about bad beats, and stuff like that. But I'm just really shocked with, the kind of the last quarter or so. I think they featured him a little too much.
Yeah, it was some bad play calling. I thought they did run. I mean, then they're like switching Montgomery and Gibbs in the drives. It was just kind of stupid, but the coaching got them. I mean, they missed out a field goal a couple times they could have had, and they would have changed the whole thing at the end of that game. But man, it's it's NFL, man. It's all good. It's a lot of fun. That's what makes those games fun. I always say NFL stands for no fucking logic. So, I mean, it's generally the way it works. I mean, San Fran lost 3 games in a row last year, too, and went to the Super Bowl. So, I mean, that's just the way it works. But, I mean, getting back here to this pitching here tonight, I mean, we got these guys up at the top. I think we both agree Wheeler Reagan's up there at the top. So, let's just take, these guys up here at the top. We get Wheeler and Reagan's. Rank the other guys here, King, Gill, Brown, Evaldi, Bassett, Wu. How do you got these guys?
I think between that range, I think it's definitely Bassett for me, number 1, just because of price tag and the possibility of what we can see for that Rangers lineup that's coming out. After that, Evaldi. I know we're not, picking on a super, easy team to beat in the Blue Jays, but I'll rank him second. And then, it's not the answer that everybody wants, but I mean, between King, Brown, and Heel, I think in that range, it might be a situation depending on the turn or the contest and for tournaments. I would just take the lower owned guy just because they're all so close. I think Heel's automatically out of that discussion. I haven't looked at the ownership between King and Brown. My lean would be King, but I want to take the lower owned guy between those two.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think, like I said, I think pitching is interesting today. And then even you look down here at the bottom tier below 8K. I mean, you look at McGill, he's on a little bit of a, pitch count. I mean, but his strikeout percentage, his strikeouts are there. He's, last start he had 88 pitches, still ended up with 9 Ks against a tough Toronto team. So, I mean, he's obviously in play. You got Lance Lynn coming back. He went a good 5 innings last time. What did he have? I saw 90 pitches. That Pittsburgh lineup's pretty weak. I haven't seen if O'Neal Cruz is in there today, but he's only going to see 2 or 3 lefties if that's the case. So, I mean, Lance Lynn facing a bunch of righties, I don't think that's that horrible of an option either. And then you got Montas against Philly. I think that's stretching it. Parker, Spence. I don't know. Mize, I can't do it. I mean, I'm not interested in Martin, really anything down here. But, I think at the top half of this lower tier, McGill's a little interesting. The Washington ain't the greatest of strikeout, but for 7,700, I don't think it's that bad of a play. I just think you're kind of limited on your upside. But Lance Lynn, I don't know. I think that's kind of intriguing to me in a way. I haven't really played much of Lance Lynn. But, he's 7,500. If I can get a mid-20 out of him here against a Pittsburgh lineup, I don't think it's that good. I think Lance Lynn's in play here. What do you think?
Oh, I completely agree with that ranking. I think once you get below that line, I think it's definitely Lynn 1, as much as I hate to say it out loud, but you hit the nail right on the head. He could not see any lefties in here. If Cruz is out, like you said, 2, maybe 3. They're favored to win the game, almost minus 145. So you have the win equity there on both sides. And I can't really pick a bat once you take Cruz out that really scares me. Yeah, you got Brian Reynolds, but they're implied for, 3.7 runs. They're at home. He looked really good last time coming out. Definitely took some of my dollars, playing against him. But I think he's definitely below 8K, the number one kind of pitching option that we want to go. I don't know. He might be a touch popular, but I don't think you're seeing some 15% ownership on this guy down that low. McGill, it's the pitch count kind of concerns me a little bit. I know the strikeouts have been there, but what's the realistic upside if he doesn't get above his 92, 93 pitches? So we might lose an inning there, which could lead to some upside. I know people just can't hit him right now. His last 3 starts have been unbelievable. So he'll rank out 2 for me. And then while looking through all those options, it's tough to find a third. Truly, we could attack the White Sox. We saw how that went last night, playing a bad pitch versus them. And I might be interested in, kind of getting some of those bats. So if I had to pick one through that range, I think it's Canning. I know you didn't really speak about him going through the list, but I need talking into for a third down at this range if you're making a handful of lineups.
I really think McGill might get some ownership just because they're going to see his last few starts have been, he's been really good. He had 29. He did have 5. He had 21. But the 9 strikeouts there and then the 6 before that, I think is something that, it was the White Sox. The Toronto start is interesting. I just think at the price. But I think I'd rather go Lance Lynn. I just think he's a little safer. I just don't fear Pittsburgh as much. So, Washington's kind of getting to be – they bring up a lot of youngsters. They're pesky. They're kind of – I don't know. They're not somebody I really generally like to have been attacking. But I think between McGill and Lance Lynn, I think on DK, I think you're going to see a lot of the SP2 ownership going toward these guys. So I think if you double spend up for pitching, I think that's probably going to make you a little different. I do think you're going to see a lot of McGill, a lot of Lance Lynn's probably as SP2s. Now today I'm playing over on FanDuel. And if you ask, would I play Lance Lynn on FanDuel? I think I will. I think I would. I'm not saying he's my favorite play, but if I really like the bats I ended up getting by paying a little bit down for Lance Lynn, then, I'd probably go that route. But, I mean, Reagan's in a pretty good spot. We mentioned Bassett. Even Eovaldi's got a decent spot. So, yeah, I mean, Lance Lynn isn't a bad play. I mean, if he can get me, 30, 35 on FanDuel, I'd be happy with that. 40 even would be great. So I don't mind that at all. I think, like I said, I kind of want to just play around with the lineups a little bit. But interesting pitching slate for sure. As you mentioned, a lot of no scratch-off dudes for me on the bottom. Canning, I mean, the White Sox, shit. Man, they threw up, 6 runs in the first 2 innings yesterday? Yeah. I mean, when I went to the DK final, we were out there in that White Sox out in left field, and the bartender had a Tiger shirt on. He was like, "Oh, well, we're not getting 120 losses." And I was like, "Yeah, you are, old man. You guys are going to fucking get 125. And so I've been kind of just rooting because, I can't go back and laugh at the old fella. But, he'll probably remember because I was giving him shit about it the damn day.
He knows. I love those. You don't need to say anything. You just know somewhere out there that guy's rolling over thinking, hey, I remember that. So
yeah, that dude is giving me some shit. That's for sure. But yeah, so definitely interesting. Let's rank all the pitching here all the way up and down. I'm going to go for me, I go Wheeler 1, Reagan's 2, and then I probably go Bassett, and then I go Lance Lynn, and then I probably go McGill, I think is what I would do.
So I'm Reagan's 1. And this is tough. I mean, I'm going to put Wheeler 2, but it's close. And then Bassett 3. I believe that just the price discount, the kind of even matchup for Wheeler, I think Bassett kind of jumps, closer to lock. He might be my number 2. Lance Lynn, Eovaldi for me. And then if you had to pick another one, I think it's Heel over McGill because he said he's going to be popular. I look it up now. It looks like about 25%. And I want to stay away from that at 25%.
Yeah, I see Michael Peters says, how much playing 2 different 20 max DK games, how many Bassett lineups? I'd probably have mint a quarter, 25, 30%, I'd say. I'd probably mix up my pitching a little more today. I just feel as if there's a lot of different options today. A lot of days we talk about how it's like funneled. There's only, everybody's going to play the same freaking dude, and one dude's going to be 60, 70%. I don't see that here today. I think you're going to see maybe Reagan's, maybe McGill on DK would probably be the higher owned guys, I would assume. But I think that's probably going to be the popular pitching combo. But, yeah, I mean, I think it's going to be interesting. I think it'll be a little bit more spread out than most days. So that's what I like. I like when it's a little spread out. It sucks when you got a 50, 60% owned pitcher. It just sucks.
And to steal, Hoop was talking about it on the football show yesterday. Sometimes when those price tags are like that, I know they're doing it in football. You'll see some of it in baseball. It takes that skill away, right? Now you have 60% of the field loading up somebody. So I kind of hope we don't see much near the end of the season. I hope, these last couple of weeks when they bring some young guys up, they're not just leaving them at 2K, 2,200, stuff like that on DK. So we don't have these 40, 50, 60% owned players.
I'll tell you one thing. I mean, just in general, as a general theory, just looking at player pricing and crap like that. This is the time of year, man. You should be finding that 2K guy, that really cheap dude, like on FanDuel, 2K, 2,200 guy. There's a lot of players that are coming up that are, high prospects that are getting a start here or there, or, coming in. A lot of pinch hit risk with some of these guys. But, I mean, if I can jam in a, who was it yesterday on the Angels? Schumann or somebody, Waggish, something, Waggum. It was like 2K yesterday. Fucker hit a bomb. I had him in my line. You know who the hell he was. He was 2K hitting like 5th or 6th on the Angels. I was like, I'll play him. And, dude hits a bomb for me. I was like, oh, great. Like that's what kind of helps you a lot of times get ahead in these September tournaments, because now these benches are really deep. The bullpens are deeper. They're playing matchups more. I mean, like we saw in the Tiger game yesterday, they were 6th inning. Like I had half their damn lineup was changed already. But yeah, so managers
that happened to me.
To play with.
I think it was last week. Same exact thing. I think it was that it's for the Angels. And he was mid-price 2K. I think it was last Wednesday or something. And I stacked the O's. And and I have 2K, and I'm like, damn, there's nobody at 2K. And then you see him batting 9. You know, he stole 25 bags in AAA, and you're just like, well, you know, he might get that back at 2K. Does he kill you if he gets a walk? Same thing. He hit a bomb, and I'm thinking, whoa, wait a second here. When you hit those 2K bombs, it hits way more sweeter than a nice big price bat for sure.
Yeah, Eric Wagaman. That's who it was. I had to look it up. I couldn't know. I didn't even know his damn first name. And I had almost bet anybody sitting on the street, like, you want to start throwing baseball players and names, I'll tell you what side they hit, who they play for, what position they play for. I can generally tell you. And it's like, man, that you'd have got me on that. I'd been like, Eric, who? Wagaman. And I even know a lot of the prospects because I collect Bowman baseball cards. So generally I know which dudes to go after and all that. You know, like I already know like who Dylan Cruz is and James Wood. I know who these dudes all are already when they come up. But either way, man, I think today's slate is kind of interesting. We didn't really talk about it. Not much weather. I think there's like 2 spots, like a little bit of weather. I think it was Baltimore. And I don't remember the other one. But there wasn't really too much to be concerned about today. But man,
we're gonna get to this. I wish the Coors game was a little sooner, right? Because this is what we've talked about in the past. Like the first night, they're always kind of slow, and now tonight they're the uber chalk, and we're gonna find ourselves. We're gonna get to that game, but I got a little bit of take there. That's why we got to kind of get through this. But we got some potential with some of these bats that we're gonna talk about moving before Coors.
Absolutely. So just looking at the overall slate today, I always like to just glance at all the over-unders. Man, we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 games in the 7s, and then we got that whopper in Coors at 11.5, and then all the other games are in the 8s. We don't even have any games in the damn 9s. We go right from 8s all the way up to 11, so that's why that game is going to be super chalky. So like I said, we got 5 games in the 7. That kind of is indicative of what we're looking at with the pitching we were talking about. Some pretty decent pitching today. But we got 10 games. First one's at 7:10. And then we got a half-hour break. So don't be freaking out if you miss the freaking, the first wave here. Lock at 7:10. The other games don't start till 7:40. So we got a little bit of break. I don't know how much Washington and the Mets were going to want to play here at 7:10. I mean, we got Mitchell Parker going up against McGill. We kind of had some interest in McGill. I'm not really interested in any of these Nats here. I mean, on the other side, you got Parker, lefty, getting JD Martinez back. I do like him against the lefty. I think in the middle part of that lineup, 2, 3, 4, Vientos, Alonso, and JD there, I think are interesting against Parker. I don't really like it. It isn't my favorite thing. I think if you like the little mini stack, I don't mind it. There's definitely some potential there. But, yeah, I don't really like anything in this one here. It's 7.5 total. Can't really get there. I think there's other options for us.
Yeah, no, I would agree. It's going to be those bats in the middle of the order. They're not cheap, but they're not the most expensive. They leave a couple outfield spots open to get some other value. They're all sub 5%, I believe, once that slate locks. I'm right on with you. I like exactly those 3 bats. I don't mind a little Tyrone Taylor at 3,200 in the 5 spot. If you wanted to finish kind of a 4-man stack. But then our comment over here, we got Dante saying that it's James Woods' birthday. That changed something, especially when you add that with Miguel being 25% owned. So I know he's expensive, birthday narrative, righty lefty. That would probably be my one-off with CJ on the other side.
I don't mind the birthday narrative. I mean, that's all right. I mean, hey, maybe he went out last night, got a little shit faced. Maybe he doesn't even maybe he pulls a David Wells today or something. Maybe he can
or he hits the tonight and then he goes out tonight and then parties it up, throughout the day. So
right. And then I see everybody here, Nade's in there. Fuck Coors, everybody giving Coors Field some shit. But I'm fading it today. I mean, why not? The last few weeks has been, the chalk has not even come close. It's like just scrap whatever else is doing and just play with the rest. It seems like the way it's been working here recent times. But moving on to them 740 games, we got 3 of them. We got one here with the second highest total. The A's and Cubs here. We got Wicks against Mitch Spence. Spence, shows us some some life once in a while here. I just not really too much a fan of him in this spot here. And then you got Jordan Wicks on the other side, who, I mean, low strikeout rates. I mean, we're looking at 18% to left, 20% to the right. Ground ball percentage, 48%, a little bit to the left here. His fly ball percentage at 33% to right, lower ground ball percentage to righties. So, I mean, just kind of looking here at this Oakland team, we're sitting with the second highest game total. I mean, I kind of like some righties here. I mean, just looking at Rooker, Langeliers, Giloff, I don't mind. Butler, we've talked about here in recent times, been really hot. But, man, Rooker and some of these righties I think are interesting. I think you're going to get them low owned too. I think they're fairly cheap. You know, once you get past Rooker, I mean, I think the A's are in play here. I think you got to look at them. But, man, I don't know. It's kind of hard to click some A's. But, man, the numbers are sitting there.
Yeah, no, I agree. This is a top 5 stack for me today. I believe Vegas got this game wrong. I believe it should be flipped the other way. I believe the A's should have a higher implied total. I mean, Wicks has given up 11 runs in his last, 13 or 14 innings, whatever I read before. So it's a lot of runs, in 10, 15 innings. And the A's, we know they can string them together. We know aside from Brent Rooker, prices are really affordable here. Like you said, we're going to get to Coors, and I would agree with one half of the fade on that game. I'll get to the other end when we get to that game. But we're going to be looking for some other kind of mini stacks or full stacks we want to do to get different. And I'm all over this. Like, everybody's cheap. I think they have a confirmed lineup, it looks like, for the chat. So I'm refreshing. I want to see if it pops up. But no, I mean, like I said, top 5 stack for me. I don't really get the Cubs hype, to be honest with you. I think they're going to be some of these guys will be a little bit popular. The Swanson batting up, the Suzuki, Happ leading off. They're more expensive, and they get a pretty good ground ball guy on the other side, versus Spence. So I'm going to try and stay away from these Cubs and get a lot of A's on the other side of this game.
Yeah, I think Rooker's in a really good spot. I mean, if I'm going to call a home run today, I call Rooker to hit a home run. I think you could see one here. Wicks, as you mentioned, he gave up 4 homers last start to the Dodgers. Got absolutely pummeled. Didn't really give up too many beforehand, but definitely an interesting spot here with the A's. Like you said, they're cheap. I like the spot here. So I think the A's for me are definitely, I can't call them, my top 2 or 3, but I'll call them my top 3. I think they're up there. I mean, just knowing we don't really have too much offense with all the pitching we have and such low totals across the board. So, yeah, I think coming out the gate, Oakland's definitely interesting sitting there. And I do agree with you. I think their team total should be flipped. I think they should have a higher one here than the Cubs. I actually like the A's in that game for betting purposes too, actually. So
yeah, love that. I love that addition right there. We got to get some of those NFL dollars back. I'm like the worst NFL bettor in the world. I mean, I think the parlay I played. Man.
No,
well, I stay away now. I'm done. Yeah, exactly. I bet my dumbass bet Ravens money line for whatever reason. I'm throwing a 400, 45 in a parlay. Colts -3. I thought that was juicy. What else did I have? One more loser in there. I forget. The Jets win. I don't even know. It doesn't matter. But I wasted some coin. Oh, it was me money line on the Cowboys. I was teeing down the Cowboys. I don't know what the hell I was thinking, but A's money to get some of that stuff back today. I couldn't agree more.
Yeah, hey, Tuesday's a good day, man. You get all these baseball guys or football guys coming in with a little extra cheese in their account that just can't help themselves. I put in a lineup. Okay, come on over. Hey, unless you're on the SHIPIT team, we'll get you squared away over here. We got 117 watching. You donkeys, get over, hit that damn like button for me. I'm sitting here with 2 holes in my ass, getting chunked out, sitting here talking some baseball. I'm not going to leave that. I mean, hey, I just got to joke about it now. I mean, what can you do? I mean, that's all you can do, BJ. It's just joke about it. But hey, I'm all right. I'll get through it. We'll see how the week goes here. But looking forward to skating out of town, going to that Lions-Arizona game out in Phoenix. So I'll be in Titletown's neck of the woods. So I think my man Hoop's going out there with us too. Can't believe it. He's leaving Wayne County. I don't even know if that dude knows where his suitcase is. But hey, my man Hoop said he's going. So I can't wait to get out there with my buddy, have some fun out there, and hopefully the Lions can get us a victory. But we got some baseball. We got a couple big ones coming up here. We got one here Philadelphia and Milwaukee, 7.5. We got Zach Wheeler. No thanks. I'm out on Milwaukee bats. I don't even want to go there. Montas here. I mean, we're sitting here looking at lower strikeout rate, 17% to lefties, 25% to righties. Ground ball rate is a little higher to righties, a little lower to lefties. But, man, I don't know if you want to attack Montas here. Schwarber, Harper, I think he'll be going from the left side. I think, anytime you can play the man Kyle Schwarber up there, I mean, dude's been smacking baseballs left and right, I think is interesting. I don't say it's like, one of my favorite stacks, but I think you can maybe look at a little mini of some Philadelphia here, especially the top half of that lineup, especially on lefties.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, you nailed them on the head. I mean, when do you get a chance to go 5% owned, between Schwarber and Harper and combined in the same lineup if both had big days? I mean, you're looking at 2% of lineups have them combined of the guys that are playing, maybe. So I like it. I mean, we've talked about it before. I hate Castellanos batting, cleanup in there. It's like you want to stack this Phillies team, and I hate clicking that button. Throw him in the Stanton pool and these other guys that I hate the roster. But I know I've been wrong on that. We've talked about it, but I don't mind, kind of like a mini stack here. If you have the salary, we, kind of throw in a Lance Lynn and get a little bit cheaper at pitcher, get a little bit different than the field. They don't have the highest implied total. And Montas hasn't been bad, specifically against his last two starts, which I think people look at. But then when you take a look at it, you're like, oh, it was Colorado and San Francisco. So I think he gives up a little bit tonight. I don't want to full stack the Phillies, but I do like minis, especially ones that include Schwarber and Harper, as basic as that sounds.
Yeah, I don't mind that at all. I mean, we've seen, Schwarber obviously can put up some big numbers. He's done it here in recent times. Nate says he likes him a Schwarber smash. So, yeah, I don't mind that one at all, but definitely interesting for me. I'll put the Phillies in the top half up there, maybe close with Oakland. I got a couple others that are going to be up there, but yeah, interesting one for sure. Definitely like some lefties. Now, moving on here, the big game here for us here in Detroit land. We got our Tigers coming all the way back from 9 games back from the playoffs. Now we are 1.5 back playing the Royals, who we are also chasing. So great comeback yesterday. Bobby Witt hits a grand slam. Tigers crawl back, win the game 7-6. Everybody here is fired up. Finally, we got some meaningful baseball here in September. But, man, Cole Reagan's going to be really popular here today. Tigers do struggle against the left side. I'd rather the Tigers going against a righty. Reagan's here, 32% strikeout rate against the righties, 21% against lefties here. Ground ball, 45%, 40% to righties. Fly ball percentage around 27, 28%, both sides. I mean, maybe if you're looking, I'm going to assume they're going to roll out Ibanez, Malloy, and I'm going to assume Verling will be in there today. Dingler, I'd probably assume will probably be catching today. So, I don't know, man. I think there's a lot of pinch hit risk up here at the top, especially with Ibanez and Malloy. If that ends up, I didn't see if that is the final lineup. I think I'm looking at a projected one. But I think there's a lot of pinch hit risk here. I don't like any of the Tigers really, even for any kind of leverage. I mean, I think it's really risky. So I think Reagan's is in play. I think this game's going to be a lower scoring game. Mize and the Tigers, I think they're going to give him a really short leash. I do like some of the Orioles bats. I just wish the Orioles as a whole team, especially now without Pasquino, I just don't like their power. I just don't like – I mean, Witt's the only guy I really fear in this lineup here. I think they're interesting. I mean, Mize has got beat up a little bit. Pham at the top of that lineup, and then you're going to have Perez, Massey, Melendez. I just, like I said, I wish there was a little bit more power. Mize isn't really too much of a strikeout guy. I think the Royals are going to get some ownership. I think they're going to be probably one of the more fairly other popular teams because after Bobby Witt, all these dudes are really cheap. I think they're a stack you can put with some Coors Field. So I think the Royals are going to be pretty popular today. I think I'm going to leave the Royals alone. I think Hinch has been playing the bullpen really well. He's got a lot of guys down there that can just fire ball. They got Herrera down there. They got all kinds of arms. I think they're going to play matchups. I don't know. Maybe I'm just being a homer here, but I just think, the time of year, extra bullpens, guys in the bullpen. They're not going to let Mize get beat up. He's gone. As soon as, I don't care if it's a second damn inning, he struggles, he's going to be out. The Tigers are playing for their lives. So, but Reagan's, like I said, I think is interesting. I think that's what I like. Any kind of plays in this game. Maybe the Tigers can take it late, but man, the numbers sure show up for Reagan's. I'm just afraid to play any kind of Royals here today. Talk me into it. Do you like any Royals, or are you kind of thinking what I'm thinking? And I don't know. I just don't like the power of the Royals.
I would agree, the power, but I disagree on the ownership. I don't think we see very many of these guys, with high ownership. I mean, I assume a little bit elevated with Bobby Witt, but he is 6,500. Like you said, aside from that, everybody else is affordable. I do agree a little bit with the whole power thing. Like I said, only 2 guys per season have an ISO above 200 in this lineup, but I'm willing to go here. I believe this is kind of a better stack than the Diamondbacks, which we'll get to, and for a different kind of reason. The part that does throw me off is exactly what you said. If they pull him early with the second bit of trouble, I'm a little bit concerned. But, I mean, they're cheap. I'd rather play this stack than the Diamondbacks, though. You get lower ownership. You get, more money to spend everywhere else. We're going to get to it in a second, but I don't mind it. I really don't. This is going to be a top stack I'm going to look to build. I believe guys like Hunter Renfroe, at 3,200. I know he hasn't had pop this season, but we know he can hit the ball. It is unfortunate that I just saw that Melendez isn't in the lineup, which kind of changes a little bit, but I'm going to have to hit the drawing board back after that, actually. But, I mean, they're up there. Pre-show projected lineup, I thought you can get them all sub 10%, and it was going to be a little sneaky, but I don't know. You're saying a little bit different, so we're going to have to see. I
don't know. Maybe it's just me just thinking like with the price, what you're looking at. Mize just doesn't grade very well. So, yeah, I mean, I think the Royals are up there. I think they're they're not in the top upper tier, but I think they're in that upper level tier of stacks that you could look at. Me personally, I just rather, if I'm stacking up a team, I like to see a little bit more power up and down the lineup than me to dedicate so many spots to, a bunch of doubles hitters. So, yeah, I kind of been staying away. I've been kind of talking about that all season. That's why I wasn't really liking to play some of them Indians. They scoring runs, but they weren't hitting homers. I don't give a shit. They score 7 runs. If they only hit a solo shot, I mean, I'm not getting the points I need to win tournaments. I mean, I could win a tournament with a team that hits 2 homers and gets me 2 3-run bombs. That's what I'm looking for. So, and they not really stealing bags. I don't know. I think this one here is kind of interesting. We got a total of 8. As I mentioned, it was a handful of games at 7. So other than that 11.5 game, just moving forward, we got Detroit, Pittsburgh, and St. Louis, and then the White Sox game. I mean, all the other games other than that Coors game, we're sitting at 7. So it isn't like we got plentiful offense like, we were seeing in the middle of June and July and everything there. But just kind of taking some comments here. Cam the man says, Kyle Isabel's been sneaky good lately. I don't mind them wraparound stacks. I think wraparounds are definitely something that I like to do sometimes to get a little bit different. Beware of Reagan's today. Same thing may happen. I mean, Lugo was cruising along yesterday. All of a sudden, Tigers are taking a lot of at-bats, seeing a lot of pitches, warm out a little bit. Reagan's, I mean, he's been prone to give up a little bit, but like I said, I just don't like the game here. I do like Reagan's. I think it's going to be playoff atmosphere, so I do like him as a pitcher today. I'll just hope for some late runs from my squad here tonight.
Do you think I'm not the big in the streets, but the Royals are only minus 160 here. I think that's a little cheap. I would think it'd be closer to 200, if not that number. So I mean, that might be a little question. Do you have if you were to plant a flag on one Tigers bat, that if you had to play one, that's the only guy you're playing, who would be your number one play there?
Verling.
Okay. 3,800 on DraftKings.
Averages against the fastball in all of baseball. He's one of the best fastball hitters. Reagan's can just bring his fastball. I think Verling would be the guy that I probably would start with if I was going to play a one-off. Verling would be the guy that I'd play.
Love it.
So let's move on. Here we got Pittsburgh and St. Louis. As we mentioned, we were kind of talking a little bit about Lance Lynn against this Pittsburgh lineup. a little bit earlier, which I do kind of like. I'm not really a fan here of any of these Pirates. I mean, I could see if you wanted to go there. I'd just like to see a little bit more lefties out of him. I mean, Lynn's got an 18% strikeout percentage against lefties, 24% to righties on the season. His ground ball rate, 37 to right, 36% to lefties. Fly ball rate, a little higher to lefties, 30%, 25% to righties. So, you know, you're going to want to look at some lefties here, as I mentioned, if you want to attack Lance Lynn. I do think he's in a pretty good spot here, so I'm going to leave these Pirates bats alone. The St. Louis bats here against Bailey Falter, another low strikeout pitcher in the 16% range. Ground balls a little higher to left. Fly balls a little higher to the right side. You're going to see a bunch of righties here from this St. Louis team. You know, I think I got this St. Louis team kind of in the same boat as like the Royals, maybe the Phillies, maybe some of the Mets. I mean, I think they're in play. I wouldn't say they're glaring and look, you know, like, oh, I got to play those guys. But I don't mind them. I think, you know, you can make an argument to play some cards here. But like I said, I like some of the righties here. Yeah, so I don't know. What do you think of some of them Cardinals?
Yeah, I would agree. I think we're waiting on a lineup for Pittsburgh. I believe if you're making a handful, as far as we talk as the Pittsburgh side, if Cruz is in, absolutely. I don't mind playing a hedge stack. I don't mind playing a mini. I don't mind getting a little exposure. You know, we talk about that sometimes, kind of playing both sides of the game if you're making 5 or 10 lineups. So that would be the only instances I like some of these Pittsburgh bats. But the St. Louis bats, I think they're in a sneaky spot here. I mean, if you look back at Falter's last 5 or 6 games or so, he had that, you know, near no-hitter. I think it was through 7. It was a no-hitter. It was an early game, so, you know, I wasn't super dialed in. But had a great day versus the Fish. But you start to look at the games before that, you know, 7 hits, 6 hits, 8 hits, 7 hits. You know, he's not getting hit, or he's not getting outs. You know, he gives up hits. You know, his strikeout rate is, like you said, below 16% across the board for the season. He's getting hit hard. He's not really getting any swing and miss stuff. Not as many ground balls to the right-hand side. So these specifically righties for the Cardinals, they're all cheap. This lineup is out. So 3,100, 3,200 on Baker. Goldie at first base kind of changes some stuff for me, just because I think I want to play some different first base. Is 4K. I mean, this is a very stackable team. I know, you know, like you said, you know, there might not be hitting all these home runs, but if you're making a handful of lineups, I definitely want some exposure to a very cheap team that looks like they can get on base. And once you're on base, you know, anything can happen. Yeah,
I think the cards here definitely, as you mentioned, Falter. He did have one good start, but man, those starts before 3, 4, 5, he earned runs. He was getting pummeled there for a month or so before his last start. So definitely think that one is interesting. Moving on to the 8:05 slot here, we got Toronto and Texas. Another one sitting at 7.5. We got Chris Bassett, who we mentioned. We do have some interest in here tonight. Bassett, you know, a lot better against the right side, 26% to 20%. On the left side here, ground balls, he's at 46% to the right side. Fly balls, 4 to 20%. Left side, he's at almost 30%. Fly ball, 37% ground ball. So, I mean, obviously, if you want to go after Bassett, you know, look at some lefties, Josh Smith, maybe Nate Lau, somewhere if you wanted to go there. I'm not going to go there. But you look at some of these Toronto bats. I mean, you got Evaldi on the other side. Evaldi, definitely a ground ball pitcher, especially right side, almost 58%, 41% to the left side. Strikeout percentage around 24 or 25%, both sides of the plate. Fly ball percentage in that high, 27% to the left side. Man, if you wanted to go after Evaldi here, man, you know who's sitting in that 2-hole? Mr. Nathan Lukes. You know how I feel about that 2-hole. Man, a manager puts a guy in the 2-hole. They normally in the 2-hole. You know what that means? You should go on your app and usually bet on him to get 2-3 bases, total bases, maybe even a home run, because it just seems to be that magical spot, man, the 2-hole. Somebody gets bumped up in the 2-hole. Watch out. He's sitting here, been smashing the ball a little bit here. I don't like Toronto overall as like a team that I like to stack up a lot. You know, I got them ranked down a little bit, but I think this Nukes here is definitely interesting. You know, Nades, I was just about to say, Evaldi does give up home runs, giving up the most home runs on the slate at 22. So I don't mind it here. I think Toronto is interesting. I wish they had a little bit more power from that left side. But, yeah, definitely Toronto's a team here that I can get on board with, maybe more so as a mini. But, man, Luke's sitting there in that two-hole, man. That's just like glaring to me. Woo! There it is, buddy. Like, go ahead. That's a good one-off right there.
Yeah, no, I agree. I like Baldy today. Specifically what you said, there's not really a left-handed power bat that scares me. Obviously, Vladdy's sitting right there in the 3-hole. But, he's a touch expensive, and, it's I'm not really scared besides Springer in that lineup, both from the right-hand side. So I love the one-off call with Luke's. I don't mind, I guess, last man in and you want a power bat and you're not playing Eovaldi, playing a little Vladdy, but that's it for me. If you want to throw one more, making a mini like what you said, but I'm kind of maxing myself out at cheap and expensive on that Toronto side. And then, to go back to the Rangers, like what you were saying, really the only two bats that really scare me in this lineup are the two guys from the left, and you got Smith and Lau. And Smith has been horrendously bad, specifically the last 30 days, and even on the season. So I don't really have a bat that I really like here. I'll be all over the Bassett train tonight, at 8,100, and hopefully a bunch are at the top of the leaderboards.
Yeah, I like Bassett too. I think both pitchers are in play here. So as I mentioned, I like Luke's as a one-off. That's something I generally like that my brain just goes to. I look at that two-hole spot. It seems to get changed up quite a bit across MLB, and I like guys, like I said, to get tossed up in there. So definitely standing out for me. So we got the big dog here. 11.5, as I mentioned. We got all these games are sitting here at 7, 8, nothing even in the 9s, and all of a sudden we balloon up to an 11.5 total. Arizona, Colorado, out there in Coors. Yesterday didn't do too many favors for everybody. Everybody loading up on Arizona. We're sitting here with Jordan Montgomery. Man, Jordan Montgomery sucks. Right side, 13% strikeout rate, 22% to the left side. Fly ball up to 26%. He has ground ball lean, 52 to the left, 42 to the right. Man, Montgomery isn't anybody I'm afraid of. You're sitting here with like Rogers. They're going to be able to throw some righties at him. Tovar, Doyle, I think is interesting. Goodman, Stalin. I think all these guys here are in play for the Rockies here. Implied total sitting here at 5.1. And then we got the Arizona sitting here at 6-2 against Felter. Corbin Carroll's been hitting the shit out of it. Marte, second inning hits that first inning hits that 2-run bomb for us yesterday. And you're sitting here with Jock Peterson, Walker, getting them back. Obviously, Eugenio been hot a little bit here. Just looking across Arizona, all across baseball, last 15 days, Eugenio is third in all MLB and OPS, sitting at 1.240. So, obviously one of the hotter hitters. Christian Walker is up there. What is he? Just 3 for 10, 34 at bats, 974. He's up there. So Arizona, one of the hottest hitting teams in all of MLB in the last month or two. Everything lines up. Everything lines up, BJ, for this game here to go off. I know you're just waiting to give us. You're just waiting to tell us Arizona. You're just not going to go there. I agree with you. I don't know, man. I think it's just a way to play. If it beats me, it beats me. But I think Rockies are interesting. I think I got the Rockies, one of my top stacks here, along with the D-backs. But because of ownership, I think I may look at the Rockies.
Yeah, so couldn't agree more. Let's start there. I won't be making full Arizona back stacks tonight. It's just too expensive. I don't care. You start to look at these, 6,000, 6,600, 5,900. Those are, 1, 2, and 4 in the projected lineup on DraftKings. What do you need from that? Even if your guy gets, 2 singles at 5,900 in the score, that's not enough to go and win a tournament. Additionally, Felder's he's been pretty decent. I think we have a note here of, he's only given up more than 3 runs once since the middle of June. And realistically speaking, if you're stacking a specific, especially at that price, you have to score runs, and he doesn't give up runs. He pitches well at Coors. So that's just what kind of throws me off there. I agree with you on the other asset is I love the Rockies, Nade's in the chat, Rockies righties. We don't see that much ownership. We have the wind blowing out 10, 15 miles an hour to dead center. You added, obviously we're in Coors Field. This is a simple spot where I think people build Diamondbacks first. And then I feel the people that make Rocky stacks, they're going to have some other pieces coming in and mixing in, maybe a 4-4, maybe a 4-3, maybe a 5-2, stuff like that with pieces from the Diamondback side. So I will be looking to make Rocky's lineups with anybody else except for the Diamondbacks, just because Montgomery's been so bad. Yes, you can go ahead and pick, a power bat from Arizona if it fits your lineup. But, looking back, the most recent thing to compare it to is the football slate. I know completely different sports and variants, but everybody thought you needed at least one Ram and you needed, a Mason and you needed some of these chalk pieces, Parkinson, because that's what everybody talked about. I believe this is the exact same example, except with more variants. Winds blowing out, Coors Field, obvious, load up the hottest team in baseball, but it is baseball and you get the Hall of Fame by swinging 3 out of 10.
Yeah, I see our man Don playback and bullish here. Can we get game stack it for single entry? You can, but you're going to have to nail pretty much all of it, because if you, let's say you don't have Ketel Marte and Ketel Marte hits, a 3-run bomb, you pretty much got to have that. So when you stack up something else that isn't as popular, you don't have to be as perfect with it. Which is why, like if Christian Walker hits a home run, he's 52% owned, there's a big chunk of people moving. You could be in a tournament, 20 people and be in 12th, and he hit a home run, you're going to be in 11th. You know what I mean? Like, you're not moving up. So I think you got to be absolutely perfect when you play chalk stacks. A lot of times try to get different, wrapping around 9, whatever else. Or if you don't want to do that, you're going to have to play somebody really uncomfortable at pitching and hope that, think about what those odds are to yourself that, is Evaldi going to beat Reagans? Or, what do I think on a normal day in this circumstance is that I think, do I think it's a 2-to-1 odds he loses? Well, you just kind of got to weigh it out to yourself. Think about stuff like that. Like that's generally what I try to do. So if you are going to single game stack this Arizona-Colorado game, you're going to have to be damn perfect here and hit all the right pieces and get the right sides of the stack. I think if you go a little bit more Colorado side, you may not have to be as perfect, but I think these bats still are going to be 20% owned a lot of spots plus. So you're going to have to hit them spot on. So definitely something to keep in mind when you decide to go with a chalkier type stack. So just a little tidbit, just a little advice coming from somebody who's been playing this shit a long time. That's why I think it's just fun to get away from that game if you can, and it's a dud. And we ride, let's say, some A's today, and maybe we ride some Cardinals. Maybe we don't have to be perfect. Those games go out, we're gonna win. I can almost assure you, especially in a 100-person tournament, you already won. I don't even give a shit what your lineups are. I can tell you won. So, yeah, that's the difference. So, yeah, I think it's just a little bit – it's fun to stack that game at 11. Don't get me wrong. It's more fun to root against it, though, isn't it, BJ, when you're sitting there like it's baseball? Like, we see player fucking guys that are playing outfield come in throwing 60-mile-an-hour eephus pitches, and dudes are swinging and missing. It's just like, how?
I was going to say late in the game, you brought up 2 things I want to point on. One, like you said – there's nothing worse than sitting like 10th, 13th, 15th in a tournament and you're getting inside the home run range, inside that 10-point range, and you look at every lineup and you're like, wow, I'm dead, right? The only thing that can happen is me go down, and that's in those popular games. And then additionally, too, I think I get more hyped up and yell at the TV and get more jacked up, slapping high fives around the house when I'm fading and I have a bad pitcher on the helm and everybody's got him and he just turns the ugliest double play, or the outfielder makes a great ball to save 20% rather than my guys hitting home runs. So you catch me on a 20, 30, 40% owned stack late in the night and we just have a great play by the third baseman, I'm way more jacked than if my guy hits a home run.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and Kingus Matt, call up DraftKings, tell them whatever you want, man. Sometimes they'll listen to you. I used to call and I used to get my rep. Especially at FanDuel back when. And let's say a player got injured or was out early, I'd bitch. Man, I lost freaking $500 on this bullshit, went out. and then all of a sudden you'd have a free $100 fucking ticket to something in your email. Check your email, dude. Be like, thanks, man. Hey, sometimes, man, Greasy Wheel gets you. I know a lot of top level players that never ask for nothing, never say nothing, and they don't ever get anything. And then the other people that are always asking for shit, got tickets and sweatshirts and shit showing up at their door, coolers full of stuff. I mean, it's I've seen it over and over. Like a guy like Hoop don't ask forever for shit. And then I've seen other guys, asking for stuff all the time. And, Hoop don't give a shit about no sweatshirt or anything else like that. You don't care about that stuff. But, sometimes, those that ask get it and others who don't. So, yeah. I mean,
it's the casino host thing, like every time you go to Vegas, you just ask for way more than whatever it is.
Oh, yeah.
The worst they could do is say, oh,
Oh, yeah. And
all right.
And, you ask him for shit like the Cosmo. I was, gold level there at the Cosmo for years. Didn't go for a couple years after COVID. Went back and my status expired, right? So I went into my host and she remembered me. And we were talking and I was like, I ain't got to wait in a line. I don't have to wait in line at that buffet, do I? I'm not waiting in line. Can you please call and have me? And she said, well, you got to be at this level. Give me the shot. I looked at her. I was like, come on. I'll be that level tomorrow. And she was like,
yeah.
Well, then you don't have to wait in line tomorrow. I looked at her and I went, really? And she goes, okay, fine. I'll call for you. So I go down there, but that didn't cost them nothing for me to walk up to the front and, them comp me a damn buffet. I was like, give me a buffet, lady. I'm about to drop $5,000 in a slot machine. You can at least let me go to the front of the fucking line, which I did drop. Ended up. Then I get up, take a piss, and somebody wins on my slot. I was so pissed.
Yeah. No, that's it. Like I'm a Venetian guy, so Venetian Palazzo, and that's the same thing. It doesn't matter. They have all the restaurants there. Wherever you want to go, obviously you just ask them. You just go and ask. Be like, hey, I know you hooked me up last time, but like we're hungry again. We're gonna go eat again. Where you want to eat? We can get you this. No, we're going to the fish place. If you can give me anything, go. And by the time you walk over, it's already paid for. Oh, now, did you spend that much at the tables? For sure, but it feels good to not have to put a card down and just walk right out of that thing.
Yeah, I like Go Collect. I stayed at the Cosmo for EDC. I went to the Cosmo for EDC too a few years back with now my wife. We were dating at the time. That was quite the interesting experience for some old people. I'll tell you that's another day for another story, but that was something else. But yeah, so this one here, as we agree, Rockies, I think it's an interesting way to go. They're both going to be kind of chalky today. Obviously, we got a huge total difference, almost 3.5 runs all the way across MLB today. So you're going to see a lot of guys. But as I mentioned, you stack that game up, you're going to have to be dead ass perfect for sure today. And if that game goes off, let me tell you something. And if you don't have, even if you don't have, you could stack that game and still not cash if it goes off. If you have the wrong pieces, because there's going to be a lot of pieces of that game. They're going to have ownership. So, I mean, if you don't stack, you just got to hope it's a dud. It's a dud. You're in a pretty damn good spot. Even if it only gives up maybe 5-6 runs, 4-2, 4-3, I think is still good for us for fading it. But definitely interesting today. We got 3 other games here. We got the White Sox, worst damn team in MLB history, going here into Anaheim, which I do like that park there for home runs. We got that. Man, they jumped out yesterday and scored a bunch of runs on our boy Detmers, who I played. Might as well just took in this money here, BJ, just fucking throwing it across the room. But, yeah, Detmers.
I like it. I like the way it happened, though. They pulled it off right away. No sweat, nothing. Just get that Band-Aid off and just close it down.
Yeah, he definitely didn't leave anything for thought there. It was like, you're done. Sorry about your luck. But, man, I'll tell you what, Andrew Vaughn's been absolutely smashing the shit out of the baseball. Had another really good game yesterday. Here we got Griffin Canning coming in, low strikeout pitcher, 17% pretty much to both sides, 43% ground ball to right, 39% to left, fly ball percentage at 30% to left, 29% to right. I mean, Griffin Canning isn't the greatest, but here we're looking at these White Sox. Man, they're just terrible. And then on the other side here, we're looking at some Angels who I kind of like yesterday. You got Davis Martin. Obviously, you got the worst bullpen in all of baseball behind him. I was talking about our cheap Eric Wagaman yesterday, hit a homer. Basically, all these Angels are pretty cheap. So definitely can look at some Angels here. But man, I don't know. I can't going against the White Sox here has definitely been a lot of fun. I can't play any White Sox. Vaughn, as I mentioned, maybe a one-off, but I ain't going there.
3 batters before we get to the Angels side. 3 batters I don't mind. It's ugly, but Nicky Lopez is cheap. He's not the best pitcher, but he struggles a little bit more. 2 lefties. Benintendi and Vaughn for me. Those are going to be just my 3 highlights. I'm not saying to mini stack or anything like that. I do see, some ownership kind of going to these White Sox, which is funny to see. But those would be the only 3 bats that I would touch specifically in one-off spots. But as we get to this, it's going to be up there for me. Like if I'm making, let's say I'm making 5. I don't know exactly what I'm making yet, but let's making 5 lineups today. I have an Angel stack somewhere in there. We have this Davis Martin guy. I believe it's 11 runs or 12 runs and 10 runs in the last 14 innings. They're not the most expensive team on the slate to stack. I like stacking those kind of guys. Get a couple of stud pitchers. You get 10% owned throughout a stack with some of these guys. Moniak's been hitting the ball well. Hoppy hasn't, but I'll still play it. Ward and Neto up top. So I think the Angels kind of fall into a bottom of the barrel. If you're making 5 lineups, well, I need to make 1 more. I'm going to make a stack here or mix in some pieces. Like you said, it is an 8 over under, and the White Sox bullpen is bad.
Yeah, the White Sox bullpen is bad. Vaughn, Benintendi's been hitting. Ward's been hitting. I think these guys are in play here. Yeah, I agree with that. I think the Angels, though, for me, are kind of in the same kind of stack as like the Phillies, the Cards, the A's. I think they're all kind of in the same group for me, just kind of thinking back some of the teams we were talking. So I'll put them up in there. Can't say I, can decipher, who I like more so than the others, but definitely interesting one for sure. That White Sox bullpen, as we know, is just historically bad. So definitely something to think about. I see Go Collect here. Sounds like he's had practice throwing some money in his day, making it rain. I call it going to the shoe show.
He still does that. What are you talking about? No,
I call that going to the shoe show. Now, I'm 52. I haven't gone in quite some time. I just kind of think my days of that are kind of past because I don't want to see any of my daughter's friends. If that's the case, that'd be kind of a little awkward. But, we done a little bit of that here and there. But like I said, we call it the shoe show. Hey, we like to check out all those funky little pumps and shoes they had here. And always it was always like after a game. You want to come home to the Tiger game? You want to go to the Blue Bar? Okay, whatever. We go in there for a couple drinks and go home. Good times. Good times. So
we'll keep it short because we got 2 games left. But see, from San Diego, born and raised, it was always you'd go out, Padre game, whenever we're in downtown. Everybody look at each other and say, it's only a 20-minute, Uber ride to TJ. We could just walk across, and then you're walking back across into America at like 5 in the morning, and the sun's coming up.
Yeah.
Anyways.
Yeah. You going down to Mexico, the strip clubs in Canada, they are like they can go totally nude. So they put like a little like hanky on your lip, so they don't, your lap, so you don't get any snail trails on you. But this shit's pretty damn funny going to the ones in Canada. They're a little different than here. They're a little bit, but don't touch me. They're in Canada. They're like, do whatever you want, man. They don't give 2 shits. I was one in Montreal one time too. And that was interesting. Quite the interesting experience, I must say. But hey, we can talk about all that fun stuff all the time here. But we got 2 games we got to go here on this Big Ten game. We got Houston, San Diego, your Padres. Hunter Brown here. Tough one here. And then obviously we got Michael King. I think both pitchers are in pretty good spots. I like pitchers actually going against each other. I think you mentioned that a little bit earlier today when we were talking pitching. So I think this one here is one maybe we should stay a little bit away from here for bats. But I think pitching is definitely interesting on both sides. I think that I'd rather have Michael King here against the Astros, even though the Astros all low strikeout percentage, hardly anybody over 20% here for them, which is why I didn't have King all ranked all that high to begin with. Brown, same thing kind of here for the Padres. They don't really have too many guys here that high over 20%. A couple guys here barely over 20. Lewis or Eyes don't ever strike out. So, just kind of look at it's just they're not the greatest pitching matchups. Both pitchers, though, are good. I think, to stay away from some bats. But Yeah, I don't see any guys here I'm looking at.
Yeah, I would agree. I think I'm edging to King, like what I said earlier and what you agreed with. Just a huge game for the Padres. I mean, I think we're 3.5 back from the division, and the Dodgers are all banged up. Same thing I've talked about in previous shows. I think this is just a jump in night there. If I had to pick two bats, they're going to be low owned. They're going to be expensive, but it's Manny and it's Jackson Merrill. I think that guy specifically has been showing up in big time spots and big time games. Certainly not somebody I want to jam into lineups, but if you're making 150, 100, a large number of lineups, and you had to get a little exposure here, I think I'd rather go him over Manny.
Yeah, I don't mind. I don't mind that. I just think both pitchers here kind of worry me a little bit here. Everybody's kind of laughing at our shoe show talk here, but yeah, he says here from Buffalo, Toronto strip clubs. Hey, I was at the one at Niagara Falls. There's a casino right there. I got to know the host there. I was there for a few days from work, and my last day, he called up and said, "We're taking you down to the strip club." And they had like a center thing, and all the people sat around. It was like the girl was in the middle thing and sitting around, and then she came out. It was nuts, man. Them girls over there in Toronto, Niagara Falls. I never seen such a thing. I didn't get home till like 6 a.m. Had a work meeting at like 8 o'clock, and me and the other guy I was with, we're like trying to die almost because we were still partying and drinking. But hey, good times. What can you say? Those are always fun. But like I said, I'm getting too old for that shit, man. I can't be. Dude, that's just that. Not much fun.
Yeah, I turned 30 on Thursday, and I was on the phone with my buddy, and we were talking like about that, what they brought up, walking back across, and the sun is up, and you got a taco, because they got the taco carts out, you're walking across. So you're eating your tacos, walking back across, and and the sun's up. It's a whole nother feeling that I won't feel again. I'll tell you that.
Oh yeah. I mean, we wake up at the football field around here, drinking in the middle of the football field at the high school. And like when we were kids, the sun would come up. We're like, oh shit, my mom's gonna kill me. It's like the scene out of that Dazed and Confused movie. It's pretty much like that. But yeah, good old times. But I'm always liking to have me a good time, as you guys know. I mean, you work hard, play hard, just have fun. I mean, shit, we're not on this earth long enough to be fuddy-duddies. I like to have a good time. That's why I say I'm going to Arizona and Phoenix. I don't give a shit what I got going on. I'm going to have some fun. I mean, I've been planning it for a while. Can't wait. I'm golfing on Friday afternoon. I mean, man, it's going to be great. I can't wait. But good times. But hey, we got one game left. We got the Spankies in Seattle. Now, like we said, we got Gil. Man, we love attacking the Mariners with righties. I just think this one's scary as much as he's been walking guys. So then just ask yourself, I mean, do we really like any of these Seattle bats? I mean, anybody here that we're interested in playing? I mean, Victor Robles is second in the last 2 weeks in all of MLB in OPS with a 1.252. Schwarber is the only guy ahead of him, and we got Suarez, Gunnar Henderson. Luke Raley is sitting there at the 5 in OPS with a 1.122. I mean, some of these Seattle bats are sitting up here at the top of the OPS here in the last couple weeks. I mean, are we looking for any leverage here? I don't think we get enough leverage off heel to really look at some of these Mariners. I think it's kind of interesting, but yeah, I don't know. I mean, heel can give up the big inning. I'm not saying we really want to attack him. A little bit more fly balls given up to the right side. So, I mean, Victor Robles, one of the hottest hitters, sitting up there at the one spot. Are you interested?
Yeah, specifically him, 4K on DraftKings. He does eat up an outfield spot, but like you said, I think what you said was perfect. I think really when you look at these and you look at their stats over the last couple of weeks, the last 30 days, we know that ownership is we always play against them. I think the first thought is, hey, let's stack this. Let's get low owned. But then realistically, there's not enough leverage. I don't see them scoring 10 runs tonight, 8 runs tonight. I don't like I said, I don't think there's enough. Robles specifically is one of my favorites. But I think it's whatever you get right in that first, 5 batters. Like, I think the cutoff is Raley. But if you can get one of those guys right, and you find the guy that comes in his first at bat, and now you have 3 more at bats additionally. Hopefully your second and your first at bat has men on base with his extreme walk rate. You're feeling pretty good about yourself at sub 5 ownership for whatever player that is. And I know we talk about it like it's easy, but to play good players and have good spots that you feel comfortable with when rostering that are 3%, 4%, sub 5%. That's totally different than just kind of playing somebody that's 5. And I think you can't really go wrong after Robles with 2 through 5.
Yeah, see, like somebody says, Robles day to day. I don't know. I'm looking at a projected lineup. That lineup hasn't come out yet, so definitely something to think. I mean, we're just talking about, overall with the projected lineup and what we see as far as like matchups. But to always double check, make sure baseball, especially. I always check 5 minutes before in case there's late scratches. I look for that red circle on one of my dudes, like, and then it's holy shit time. Like we got to hurry up and make a pivot or do something. But yeah, definitely always check with baseball. Doesn't happen as much like basketball. I mean, that would drive me nuts. But yeah, definitely want to check there. But yeah, Rayleigh, I think is interesting here against Gill. The Yankees here on the other side here against Brian Wu. I respect Wu. I mean, he's not the greatest strikeout pitcher, around 20% to both sides, 52% ground balls to the right side. 25% fly ball to the right side. Left side gets them a little bit more, 33% fly ball rate. Somebody like Soto, I think, is interesting. Maybe Jazz Chisholm, Wells, if you want to look at that. I mean, we're just sitting here looking at a game with 7.5. I just not really all that interested. You're going to have to pay a little bit more for some guys. I think guys at that price range are in better spots. So I'm just going to pass on some spankies. But yeah, I mean, like I mentioned, we got a bunch of games in the 7s and 8s, and then we got the big monster at 11.5. So we're going to find us some offenses in them 8s games that we were talking about that we kind of mentioned that maybe can keep up with that Coors game if you don't want to go there. So, yeah, definitely interesting. I know, I had people ask me too, BJ, I don't know how you feel. Would you full fade it, or would you like maybe stack somebody and maybe throw some one-off pieces from the Coors game? If you do, let's say you throw in a Christian Walker, you're pretty much just, you got to have to get to where he's one of the higher scoring guys. Because if Machado Marte goes off, that whole stack's going to blow you away. So you're basically nitpicking, unless it's one of those really cheap $2,000 guys or something, and he's really chalky too. Like maybe that's a way. Sometimes I play a one-off, but I'm not really paying up for a high, percentage ownership one-off like a Walker or somebody. Generally speaking, I think you're not getting anything out of it to me. So I don't know how you feel about that.
I would agree, especially when you're stacking somebody else. Like let's take Christian Walker, for example, tonight at the first base slot. Make that stack and have him in, and then you just X him out and see the options that you have around. And with baseball, we'll go back to it. I say, 3 out of 10 gets you the Hall of Fame. It's an any given night type deal. He might miss a home run by 5 feet. And the guy that cost $800 or $300 less, regardless of what his name is, could hit 2 bombs. And now you've just stretched out a completely different 30-point stretch, when stacking up. So that's the approach that I take. Like what you said. Yeah, you can hit the Christian Walker bomb, but now you're fading all these other stacks that are coming behind you with any production from anybody around him. Right. So, specifically tonight, I probably won't have any one-offs. I've yet to build, but I probably won't have any one-offs.
All right, so let's rank our stacks here. Let's give our top 4, and then we'll give a sneaky one. So I will say my top one is got to be the Rockies. I'm going to say 1 just because of ownership. D-backs, I'm going 2. But like I said, I'm more going to be apt to fade that game. So I am going to be looking at some Phillies, Cards, and A's. I think I'm going to put them in the group. I think I'm going to try to mix up my teams from that. Phillies, Cards, and A's. I think the Phillies and A's, maybe A's with some Cards thrown in there, is kind of interesting. I might play around with that. Maybe I get some higher-end pitching tonight. Maybe I can go, double higher spend. I think will be a little different. So, if you want to go on DK, I think I may be paying up for some pitching maybe on FanDuel if that's the case. But yeah, I think it's interesting. So that was my 4. Who do you got?
Yeah, if we're just pure stacking, right? Rockies 1, Diamondbacks 2, but like you said, I'm taking them out as well. They're a great stack. I get the situation, but with the ownership, I'm just throwing them out of my rankings. I'm going Royals, A's, Angels, and then sneaky Cardinals. Or they're going to be sneaky enough to qualify, right? It's kind of borderline, but the A's are sneaky enough that we can qualify that as that. But yeah, I'm keeping it a little bit different than the field today. And we get a bump to go ahead and sneak some first place around the industry.
Sounds like a good time. Go collect. You guys talk pitchers at the start. We did. We got in depth with it. Just maybe skip the first 2 or 3 minutes if you don't want to hear about my experience in the hospital and all that fun stuff. But yeah, we definitely dove into some pitching. I definitely think it's interesting here today for sure. Interesting slate all the way around. Glad we got to talk about it. Real quick before we get out of here, you got anything you wanna say?
No, man. This is everybody enjoy a good day where there's no football and all the money's coming over to baseball. Shout out to you for being back, through everything that went on. So happy to have you back in the helm, and hopefully make it a profitable night.
Sounds like a good idea. We'll be back here tomorrow too, talking some baseball. Appreciate all 157 of you guys watching us. Definitely means a lot to us. Do us a favor, hit that like button on the way out. We definitely appreciate that. Hey, I got to run. I got to do the slate plan for all of us over here at SHIPIT Nation. So be sure you guys get over there, check that out. Good luck. Let's whip some ass in some tournaments. And I will catch you here tomorrow. Thanks for checking us out. See ya.